Okay, we're in the HRM chapter 12, and I want to talk to you about a few different topics. The first of which is profit sharing and gain sharing. These are programs designed to be incentive programs to elicit positive work outcomes in the organization that lead to profitability, and they're fairly popular. If I have an objection to them, which of course I do, I'd say that the primary problem with them is that they don't follow the methodology of PIC, positive, immediate, and certain. More specifically, although no one complains about getting a bonus, it's not as positive of a reward as something that's intrinsic in nature that has greater meaning to it. No one complains about getting a check in the mail or a check in their box at work. Nonetheless, it doesn't have a personal meaning to it. It's not sentimental or anything of that nature. Well, not all rewards, it can be sentimental. And again, no one really complains when they get an extra bonus. But I wonder about the reward power of that. I think oftentimes gain sharing and profit sharing are really just ways in which to augment salaries and to align them with performance outcomes, which is not a bad thing. But in the long run, I wonder if you go to work tomorrow and you have an annual bonus, if your work behaviors are really altered by the prospect of getting a reward 11 and a half, 10 months from now. I would argue that they're probably not. On the other hand, on a big picture level, most of these profit sharing and gain sharing programs are used with upper level management. And upper level managers have a responsibility to make longer term decisions, big decisions that have longer term consequences. And if their compensation is more closely tied to longer term organizational outcomes, they might make better decisions for the organization, given their incentive system is longer range. However, the inverse might also be true. If you're trying to get an end of year bonus, you might do things to influence the metrics by which you're being evaluated so that at the end of the year they are at their peak so that you get the largest bonus. And in doing so, you might do something that's detrimental to the very long-term organization health. Now, a mature person would realize that if you peak performance at the end of the year at the expense of next year's performance, you're just kind of creating a problem for the future, unless you plan to resign after that year, get your bonus and leave. Nonetheless, I think we're not that good at being long-term thinkers about these things. Most employees are working for their check this year. They're looking for their compensation this year and not as willing to forego these bonuses in 1 year for the opportunity to have even larger gains in the future. Our mentality, at least in the United States, is really take what you can get when you can. So I wonder about why we are so actively involved in these kinds of profit sharing and gain sharing programs. I think maybe the reason is because managers simply demand them or like them, and no one ever complains when you cut them a check. No one ever says, this isn't very motivational, I wish you'd do something else for me. So it's leadership's job to set an incentive system program that really, when you come to work, the incentive system, the reward system, the evaluation system is designed so that you think about it during your day. The best way, I think, to do that is to have managers walking around engaged in positive, immediate, and certain reward structures. So number one, these profit sharing and gain sharings might not be so high on the positive scale because they're not intrinsic in reward, they're extrinsic, they're dollars and cents in a bonus check. They're not immediate, they're very delayed. It'd be uncommon to have a reward system, a bonus or gain sharing system that's even quarterly. Most of them are annual because of all the paperwork that has to happen to calculate the metrics to determine what the bonus would be. So that's very delayed. And it's not certain, it's very uncertain. We don't know where you're going to get, you don't know whether you're going to get a bonus until the end of the year when the company crunches their numbers and determines whether you've met the criteria or not. So I have real reservations about these systems. I know they are prevalent and they probably will persist. I think the reason is because no one's screaming, don't write me a check. Everyone wants a check. That doesn't mean that it's good for the health of the organization. So when you take the reins as a manager, or even as you're receiving bonuses, think about the incentive power that it has or the lack thereof. I think there's room here to be skeptics of some of these reward systems, and this is a case where I'm skeptical.